the world of education is evolving and it's evolving quickly. And when you go from having hundreds of applications for example, elementary positions to minimal applications, and then you have a ton of openings, um, that's a struggle. It's a huge struggle.
No time, no tools, big expectations. How do you transform school culture without derailing the train? Answer: little wins that bring big changes. The flywheel effect. Harnessing the power of momentum to create a school culture that celebrates change and drives itself.
Hello and welcome. I am Jordan Pruitt here with my co-host Matt Rubenstein on The Flywheel Effect. Our show exists to share the stories of little wins that could have a big impact on your school's culture. Today we're joined by the principal of Huntingdon Area Middle School in Pennsylvania and Mr. Nick Payne. I'm going to hand it off to you, sir. Can you tell us a little about your school?
Well, first of all, hi, everyone. I am just super proud to have this opportunity to be on The Flywheel Effect. It's just an awesome opportunity. So, yes, my name's Nick Payne. I am the principal here at Huntingdon Area Middle School in Central PA. I've been in education now for about, I believe I'll be in my 23rd year here. After so many years, like you lose count on how many years you put in. I am, let me see, I believe 10 or 11 years in administration. The other years were as a teacher here at the middle school and a couple other places I think we'll get into a little bit later. But Huntingdon is a small rural town in central PA. We sit about 45 minutes in between State College, a little bigger town, and Altoona. So most of us around here are Penn State fans, so go PSU. But no, we are, again, just a small rural school. There's about a little over 400 kids in our middle school here. We have been having a drop in enrollment over the last years, but we're trying to make the best possible with all the funds and resources we have here at the middle school to have our kids successful.
So Nick, thanks for coming on, man. We'll do this real quick. We are recording in September, and this will probably air in October or so. So right now, while we're recording, I believe the Nittany Lions are still undefeated. Is that right?
That's correct. 1-0. Pulled off a big one against Purdue. We won't get into the game analytics about that, but I thought Purdue gave it to us at the end of the game. If Purdue could have just ran the ball.
So anything that happens between now and the time this goes, they were undefeated when we talked.
That's correct.
So,
1-0.
We wanted to have Nick on for a couple reasons. We came across Nick because there was a story about him in the paper. His school is undergoing a lot of technology enhancements, and when we talked to him after that, there's a few things that interested me based on his school, and he has a background as a high school principal or high school administrator as well, who did a lot of work with PBIS. That's what I did. So anytime I get a chance to talk to folks who did PBIS at high school, I like talking to them because sometimes folks don't think it works, but there's a lot of examples out there that it does. And so I wanted to bring Nick on for that reason and a few others. Matt, before we get into questions, you got anything you want to ask Nick?
No, I mean, it was really fun reading about you all in the paper. And I've got a bunch of questions, but we'll get in.
Had to be honest, I didn't realize I was even in the paper. I saw a picture. That was taken with our new teachers. We have a new teacher induction program, but I don't think that picture was related to the live school. I'm still searching for the article, but I just find it amazing that you guys were able to, locate us, the school, based on the article. I thought that was quite impressive.
We'll definitely send it to you, but it went into a lot of detail about what you all have done with Bearcat Bucks and rewards for students and positive culture. So definitely got us pretty excited.
No, that's great.
My guy Nick is in the paper so much he's losing track of how many times he gets mentioned in the paper. Um, the first question I always like to ask folks, and this one, it makes it relatable to whoever listens. We have a lot of administrators listening, a lot of folks work at central office, but we have a lot of teachers too, and folks who sub and coach and people who work do all the things it takes to make a school run. I like to hear about your first job in education, like the very first one, foot in the door. They actually paid you for this.
The very first job. Well, I do have to give a shout out to my parents. It's one of those things where I could never get away from education growing up because my parents were educators. My mom retired as a longtime principal, elementary principal from Penns Valley Area School District, many years in education, both as a second grade teacher and a principal. And then my father was a mathematics teacher earlier on, and then actually retired as a director of technology at one of our intermediate units. I'm not sure if you're familiar with intermediate units in the state of Pennsylvania. They are funded by the state to help school districts. So there's multiple intermediate units across the state. But he was definitely ahead of his game with technology. And like I said, he retired as a director. So education's kind of been in my blood. I just couldn't ever get away from education. So my first paying job was actually a long-term sub job at a youth forestry camp. So what is that? It's adjudicated males that the court system sent them away. So I was teaching, adjudicated males from like 12, 13 to 21 that came across the court system here to Central PA. Trough Creek Youth Forestry Camp is, Trough Creek is also run by our local IU, the education piece of it. So we have kids coming from just put different backgrounds, walks of life into Central PA, a very rural area. We're very close. We're very close to Lake Racetown. If you haven't ever looked Lake Racetown up, at one point in time, Lake Racetown was actually from my understanding, the biggest man-made lake on this side of the Mississippi, on the east coast of the Mississippi. But anyways, that was my first paying job. It was a long-term substitute teacher at the youth forestry camp. And the best part about really that job was at the end of the day, they had a lactose, and basically it was up to me what I could do. And with the lactose, so they had a gym. They had a gym in their facility. So I always went down and shot basketball. Took kids down, played basketball. Went on, through their programming at that youth forestry camp. They take the kids different places like rock climbing and bowling and things like that. So like I was able to participate in that and just, build a rapport and bond with those kids. But that was my first paying job back in 2001 year. I went on to North Carolina. I taught, I believe, fourth or fifth grade in North Carolina, Roxborough, North Carolina, Person County. So shout out to Person County, Roxborough. And then in the 2002-2003 school year, I landed myself in really my hometown here, Huntingdon. So this is where I grew up. I went to a local school, Juniata Valley, local school, about 10 minutes away. Went to Juniata College, which is next door to us here in Huntingdon, and I, ended up back here in my hometown. I've been here since 2002 in the middle school. And then I ventured over to the high school as an assistant principal, and then back here to the middle school. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but the first job was at a youth forestry camp for juvenile delinquents.
Nick, I've got to ask, just curious, having grown up in that area and now having been in education, you said 23 years. Can you speak to changes that you've seen in terms of what kids are dealing with and what school life looks like nowadays?
I just had a phone call with a parent that kind of went to the evolution of the cell phones and the social media, and I think that's been a huge change. the kids just can't get away from each other. They don't have that break. Social media can be a positive for things like this and being able to connect across the world. And, that's, again, a shout out to my dad, because that's what he was doing with technology. I forget what the technology was. Distance learning technology. It's great things for like this, but just to have that downtime, it's kids can't get away. But here's particularly in Huntington is our economics here in Huntington. It's not the best, and I know there's many small schools out there, small towns out there that are in the same boat. And we don't have a whole lot of manufacture, none at all. We It's just a decline. It's a decline in the economy here. And that's, I think, really, really related to our decline of population here at Huntington. We have the supposedly the largest man-made lake here, which brings in a lot of summer tourism and funds. But we also have two state prisons in our back door, and then we have hospital and Juniata College. So local college here that probably enrolls like 1,500 students. So I would say just the economy is, I could see the difference from the time I started to now, and really the loss of enrollment, just declining. And obviously the technology from, at least when I grew up, we didn't have any of that.
No TikTok?
No TikTok. No, not at all. But again, as long as people are using it in the positive ways, it could have a major influence and impact. And we know that. We see it all the time.
Yeah. I appreciate that. As we dive in, I think those are trends that a lot of communities are dealing with, a lot of rural communities as well. So, excited to dig in more to some of the cultural things you do for your students. So, yeah.
So the cell phone thing, I think a lot of folks, if you're listening and like you haven't been in administration, maybe you don't see it from that perspective. But he mentioned something that really hit on to me, that they can't get away from each other. I found that like the bullying stuff and like harassment level stuff, that was something that wasn't as adamant like visually, but it was all being done on the cell phone. So like a lot of that, like when I was dean, I would have to, a lot of investigation had to do with like looking at their social media and stuff. But that's an impact. Like you see it because it's like distraction in the classroom, that kind of stuff. A lot of people know that part, but the part that like they just are never away from each other, like, you know what I mean? That's a big deal, and it has an effect for sure.
Yeah, I know. I think we do a pretty good job running a kind of a tight ship here, with our cell phone policy, at least in the middle school. 7:30 to 2:45, we don't want to see them. And the kids and the teachers are definitely on board, and the kids are on board. And hey, come on, like, I'm not naive. I wasn't born yesterday. Like, we're going to see them. Honestly, I just hand my hand out. If it gets to the point where I see it too many times, the kid just turns it over. We try to teach those like PBIS, we try to teach those expectations. And, kids don't follow those expectations, there's going to be some consequences behind those. But again, I think we do a pretty good job here, but you're right. Kids can't get away with it. I have a preteen son right now, and, he's begging for data and this and that. And last night just had to have a conversation with him about, proper use of, the phone. And you have to, one conversation is not enough for kids. You got to just continue to have those conversations with the students, because it could be very impactful on their lives, and could cause damage down the road on decisions kids are making, and we don't want to see that for anyone. We want the best for the kids. We want them to be successful, and a decision now could harm you down the road, and we don't want to see that.
Do you guys do you have part of that as like in SEL, or like are you guys teaching like cell phone etiquette and like digital literacy, that kind of stuff?
So we do have a media class where it is to be focused on, some of that digital citizenship. There's that, I think that think acronym out there, and don't ask me what it all stands for, but basically think what you're doing before you post stuff, send stuff. But yeah, we do try to get him, and I know I do it every year at the beginning of the year, and I tell the kids we meet with each grade level, and you're talking about cyberbullying and this and that, and I'm straight up with the kids. I mean, I don't hold any bars. I basically tell them, if you want to hide behind your phone or Xbox and make comments, uh, you're a coward. You're a coward. I mean, that's a cowardly way of handling things. And if you don't have something nice to say to kids, don't say it. I mean, it's all cliche stuff, but try to drive that home.
So sometimes it takes some real talk, man. They respond to real talk a lot of times, particularly if you got a relationship with them.
And that's the nice thing, being in this community for so long, knowing the families, having the rapport with families. I coach basketball here. I just gave that up not too long ago, but I was a coach here in the district for a long time. So building those relationships goes a long, long way.
I was a coach too. I was a football coach for a long time, and still do a little bit. The that I found was really helpful working in a big school, because people also knew you as coach, not just like the guy who like signed the discipline forms. Like, he's also coach. He's okay,
Yeah.
To go with technology, part of that thing we found you in the paper, there was a lot of new technology things that were coming down the pike for you guys, specifically with, and you mentioned PBIS too, and we're with live school. So what challenges do you anticipate happening? What do you foresee?
Well, so the big technologies, related here to our district is our IT. The director of technology here secured like almost a $500,000 grant for us here at the school district, which was amazing. Did a wonderful job with that. And, when we were talking about funds and low economic, about 5 or 6 years ago, we implemented a one-to-one device here, mainly iPad. We were all iPads, and they were starting to die on us. It was funny when we implemented those one-to-one devices. There was a lot of parents questioning that. A lot of families that didn't want us to go that route, didn't want the technology in their hands. But man, when March 13th, 2020 came along, we were ready. And we were ready with the iPads. We were ready with we actually practiced the kind of going remote for a day prior to this even happening, knowing that this was going to happen. So we were ready, where many schools, I think, across the country maybe put their learning on pause. We continued our learning. It was a little bit new with the Zoom and all that stuff, but we super proud of our schools, because our school here in particular, we continued. And that was a really good thing with the technology that we were prepared for. But our technology was getting on the old side, and our director of technology secured a grant here this past school year, and we were able to upgrade our iPads. All of our kids in K through 8, brand new iPads, latest greatest version, and our high school kids moved into Chromebooks. Now, the more kind of technology-based change here at the middle school is live school. So we brought live school in. We had our elementary schools using live school, and we kind of weighing the pros and cons with it, and we thought it was the right time to move to live school. So we had, like I said, we had some of our members in our school district, teachers in our school district, that had some background with it, but not so much here in the secondary level. And I thought it was time for change. And I'm going to reach back behind me here. So the reason why I believe it was time for change is with Jordan's familiar with the positive school wide, and with the positive school wide, you want to give rewards out and celebrate the kids that are doing the right things. We had these Bear Cash cards, and these were what our teachers were handing out to our students if they got caught doing the right things. So they would be able to write their name, the student's behavior, and it was a instant reward. Hey, thanks for holding the door for me. Thanks for picking the trash up. You're following our Bearcat expectations. Here you go. Well, oh man, it's probably going on 6, 7, 8, maybe even 8 years ago. I was the one that created this when we implemented PBIS at our high school. And as I became an administrator, when I was an administrator there, it was they were first nice, but I found it very difficult to use then, especially when I started coming over here as a principal, and you tuck them into your shirt and your pockets, and then you get all folded up and go home in the wash. So I really felt that there was a need for change, and to kind of get caught up in the world with moving more digital, electronic. So knowing that our elementary schools were using Live School, we wanted to learn a little bit more about Live School and see what it could do for us here at the middle school. And I was ready for the change. I wanted to be able to, instead of having these in my pocket, have the cell phone in my pocket that I could easily pull out now. And instead of writing on it, I could then just punch in, find a kid's name, and reward the kids. So much easier, accessible, and super. Be honest with you, we've been in school probably maybe 10 days, a little bit more than 10 days, and I've given out more of our Live School points than I did these Bear Cash cards, probably over last few years. So that was the big technology change here at the middle school, implementing Live School, and so far I think it's going fairly well.
That's awesome. I was curious, Nick, something you said. So when you all put Live School in place, do you still call it Bear Bucks or Bearcat Bucks, or you call it Live School points now? I just noticed that.
Actually, that's a good question. I don't even think that it's come up in conversation really. They know that the kids can earn points for following the Bearcat expectations, and I don't necessarily know if these are completely disappearing. Just they're not going to be points, but I think we're going to use these as like the kids can earn points to buy one of these for a big raffle item. So sitting back here in my office, we have a couple TVs that we're going to raffle off, some AirPods. So the kids are going to be able to use the Live School points to purchase some Bear Cash cards to get their name in a raffle.
That's a cool way to keep your culture, your school, brand in there. That's really cool. And raffles are really cool too, because kids can, depending how you run it, can they buy as many chances as they want based on how many points they have?
So that's, I think, one of the questions is what's the challenges we're facing. That's one of the challenges we're facing, because not doing it here, we're trying to get a feeling of how many points the kids are going to get, and then what do we value the rewards. So we're still trying to find that balance. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit to figure that out. But yeah, man, buy as many as you want. Put your name in. And I will say too, this is bringing Live School is going to help us honor, reward kids more than what we were just solely using our Bear Cash cards. Because when we used the Bear Cash cards, we didn't necessarily have a store. It was all kind of luck of a draw. So the kids would put their tickets into a box, and then monthly we would pull randomly tickets out, and not all kids would be rewarded. And we would do it quarterly, and we'd only have a few quarterly prizes. Not all kids uh, would get rewarded. So this now is actually is going to give the kids an opportunity to, purchase. So someone, can purchase whatever they want. Um, so go ahead.
Quick, quick follow up question. Just zooming out even from live school, I'm just curious about kind of your, I guess, philosophy on it, because it sounds like you helped really spearhead this 7 or 8 years ago. The whole idea of positive reinforcement to begin with, and there was actually a quote in the local news article about what you're doing, and it said, I think this was attributed to you. Sometimes doing the right thing is expected, but we want to change that philosophy. If they're doing what they should be, let's reward them. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that, because I think a lot of adults do sometimes feel like, well, they should just do the right thing because, and clearly you're putting real programs in place to try to teach and recognize kids. What drew you to do it that way?
Well, I'll tell you what. So, I mean, I'm dating my age here. I know I look fairly young, but I'm dating myself. So back when I was assistant principal at the high school, I'm going to take you back even. So this is my fourth full year as an administrator. So I had 6 years as an assistant principal at the high school. So I'm going to take you back almost 8, 9 years ago, maybe. So PBIS, positive behavior support and intervention, from my understanding, was kind of the new trend in Pennsylvania, and it was just starting to gain some ground. And before we knew it, over time, basically what I was told was all schools are going to have to kind of go this way. So during that one summer when I was assistant principal to high school, the principal's like, "Hey, we're going to do this." I'm like, "What? Do what?" And we're going to create a team and we're going to bring PBIS in here. And I'm like, whoa, let's slow up here. So we had to get the buy-in. We had to get a teacher team. We had to get the buy-in. And some of those honestly were very hard conversations with high school teachers about this, because exactly what you said was like, what the kids are doing what they're supposed to do. Why are we going to reward them? So very hard buy-in. So I'm a believer in, many school districts throughout our nation. The latest and greatest comes down the line. You jump on it and you implement it. Well, that causes some frustrations, amongst your staff. If you don't have the proper training, you don't have all the ducks lined up, T's crossed, I's dotted. It causes a lot of frustration. So I'm a sole believer. Hey, let's get all the information. Let's have those conversations. Let's take it slow and get everything lined up where we need to it to be, and then be able to fully teach our staff, fully implement it. So that was kind of my belief, philosophy. In our local IU, back then, actually brought like 4 or 5 different school districts in, and had a training throughout the year. And we had a good team. We had a team that had we had the believers and the not believers, and had those honest conversations. And after we had those honest conversations, they put their nose down and got to work. And one of the major factors that contributed to our success was our student team. We started developing a student team. We went to a local school that had been implementing PBIS for years, and our students bought into it at the high school level. And from that point, our students actually created a video to show to our faculty about why they believe it should be there. And that was,
I bet that about settled the argument.
that I tell you what, that was very key to our success. We also had a great a coach member that brought the energy and believed in it, and did a wonderful job to get us rolling with the PBIS. But that student team, and believe it or not, the faculty the PBS, the initial team, asked if they could have a faculty meeting without administration being present. So yeah, let's do it.
And that was approved. That's a bold move.
We did it. They had the honest conversations with the staff. I think they showed the video, and the next thing you know, that following year, we did the trainings, to implement PBIS, and we're off and running. We're off and running with it. And I tell a story that there was a high school girl that athletic, smart, at different times could give you some attitude and trouble. A senior. We were playing football, away game at our local rival, and after the game was done and over with, I see this girl just hanging around. I'm like, what? What are you doing hanging around? And she went up and down. She went up and down the student section and cleaned up the student section to earn the Bear Cash cards. So that was just amazing that went that direction. And I'm getting to where so at the middle. So the most proud thing about the PBIS at the high school here at Huntingdon is 1 year of implementation. 1 year we were being recognized by the state of Pennsylvania for fidelity, tier 1 fidelity. So that was impressive, and it's not about me. It was about the kids, and it was about the team, and the prep and planning that went behind that all that year, making videos and things like that. Now, getting to the quote I made in the paper is, as adults, as teachers, I almost felt like you had to retrain the way that you were thinking. The title assistant principal brings on that vision that you're looking for kids to be doing the wrong things. You're in the hallways trying to keep the behaviors to a minimal, where honestly, that's not really what you should be doing. You should be praising kids. You should be talking to kids, and just retraining your thought process, that be looking for the good in kids and reward the kids for that. If it's as simple as, a kid holding a door, you're escorting a kid to in-school suspension, and there's an adult coming the other way, and the kid holds the door for that adult. Like, reward the kid for that. Like, it's okay to reward kids for doing the right things. And I think that's definitely a change of a mindset change. Obviously from when I went to school to these days, and really trying to help that social emotional learning, and that's kind of what that PBIS is all about. At least part of it.
It is a bit of a mindset change, but I think it's mostly a mindset change, just how we talk about it. If you think about like the teachers, administrators, and coaches you had growing up, the ones you liked the most, and like you still kind of learned the most from, they did a lot of those things.
Absolutely.
They just probably didn't talk about it that way. The thing I wanted to jump into next is I wanted to see what behaviors you're targeting this fall, and coming off last year was a rough year for most folks, but like going into this year, you're now using this digital tool. What behaviors are you trying to minimize?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to kind of the story about me starting at the high school, and then 4 years ago moving over here to the middle school as principal. PBIS here at the middle school has been here for a very long time, longer than the high school. And we were never able to get state recognition for whatever reason. We just never met that fidelity check. So a couple years ago, during our COVID year, we were able to meet the fidelity check to make banner status. But the problem is because it was a COVID year, we didn't actually get state recognized. So our first official year last year, we got recognized state here. So I was actually prepping and planning here to head to Hershey, Pennsylvania, going down to our Implementers Forum conference to get our banner. So we were state recognized. Now, getting to your question here, part of PBIS is kind of to have common language and common expectations throughout all buildings. So our elementary uses so our mascots Bearcats. They use the cats part of as an acronym. Here at our secondary, and don't ask me what it stands for. It's very similar to what we do. Here in the secondary, we use Bearcats as our acronym. So the BE in the bear stands for be engaged. The AR stands for act responsibly. The CAT stands for care about the team, and the S safety. So what behaviors what are we looking for or focusing on? It's really unique how you can set up live school, kind of to different components or different behaviors you want to look at. So what we did this year is we set our focus on different areas. So we want to gather the data from, for example, the classroom, or the data from the hallways, or bathroom, cafeteria, buses. So there are our main categories, but then we use our Bearcat expectations underneath them. So are they being engaged in the classroom? Are they acting responsibly on the bus? Are they caring about the team in the cafeteria, or safety in the classroom? So that's what we're focusing on. And through getting the PBIS set up and implemented, we do have expected behaviors, more specific expected behaviors in those under like being engaged in the classroom. But for we're kind of keeping kind of general right now. So our kids being engaged, acting responsibly, caring about the team and safety. That's what we're looking for.
So, two things about that I loved. One, I've not seen anybody do their expectations with the care about the team part. I've not seen anybody do that, and I love that part because I think that's a great lesson for every kid to learn, and even for teachers. Like when I would coach folks on classroom management, I'd talk to them about make your room a community, make it like a team, and that's just a really good concept.
Yeah.
The second thing, though,
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad, Nick. The second thing you said that I loved was you're focusing on areas. And if you're in a school that's a middle school or a high school and there's any kind of transitions, and you've ever looked at behavior data, a lot of times all you have is referral data to go off of. And that'll sort it by area if you're getting good data. But the thing about the referral data is you're getting just the worst events. And that's the data doesn't really match much. So you really don't see the whole picture. But the way you guys are doing it, you're going to see all the little things that lead to the things and all the good things that are happening, where they're happening. So I'm interested in how that plays out for you guys, but I like how you're going about it.
Yeah. So, I love data. I like looking at data, but always can improve in data. And not that we necessarily haven't looked at the the good with the bad, but that could be something that we could learn and use here within the school. And I'm always a person. Again, another cliche is that again, I love looking at data, and I can manipulate data however we want to. But really, it comes down to having the rubber meet the road. And in education, using that data to implement change and take action is probably one of the toughest things to do, because your hands sometimes are tied with human resources, hands are tied financial resources, but if we could get better at just having that rubber meet the road, looking at our data, showing what our data is telling us, and then having interventions in place to set up kids to even have more success. Man, if I could do that in a dime, I'd be rich. It's very hard to do. I feel it's very hard to do in education. I know there's great leaders out there that can do it, but also I got to keep in mind, and this is for other administrators, and they know this too. Is like this is not a sprint, and sometimes I get caught up in the sprint piece where I want to do, and have instantaneous results. But this is more of a marathon, and change, climate, culture change doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time.
Nick, I was just really kind of struck by the story you told about the video that the kids made. I think that was at the high school, but I was just wondering, as you've been building out this program at the middle school, have there been anything like that where you've kind of tapped into the kids' own creativity or ownership or leadership skills? And it just seems like something you've maybe somehow done in your career, or maybe just gotten lucky. But any advice for others on that?
Yeah. So yeah, very good question. Again, student team at the high school rocked it. They took it full force. They created all kinds of videos where uh, you know driving etiquette, parking etiquette, and what to do and what not to do, or going through the cafeteria on how to be engaged and care about the team in the cafeteria with your lunch ladies. Please, thank you, not give me this. I want that. So the high school really rocked it. We've tried here at the middle school. It's quite haven't got there yet. I'm going to use the word yet. I just know scheduling wise, the demands that we have. And once again, I'm going to go back to the kind of falls in place, like the economics, the resources you have. Right now, we just don't. I feel like we don't have time in the day or the bodies to pull something off right now with that. But it's always something that we've tried. Don't get me wrong. We have tried that. We do. There's a couple. I don't know if I was here when they were made, but there's a couple. Videos that some of the middle school students made. But if I would say if we need one area of improvement is trying to get that student team better functioning here at our middle school. But I will say, yeah,
I mean, I think that's pretty awesome honesty, and it's not easy, especially at the middle level compared to the high school level where kids are just a little bit more developed. So I think it's something a lot of schools try to get off the ground. And it does seem like when you all got it working at the high school level, it was pretty magical for the culture, which is really cool.
yeah, and I can't forget this either. Like PBIS is meant to be for everyone. And when you try to develop your student team, it's really meant for everyone. Try to get all kinds of walks of life, all types of students to be a part of that team. And unfortunately, sometimes when you boil down, when it boils down, it's your kid. It's your more responsible kids that are a part of that team, and that's tough. You wish you would be able to get uh, more other kids that have different experiences, unique characteristics, talents to help out. But it's tough. It's a tough thing to do, and I really feel time constricted here. We even struggle with after school clubs and programs. We have our athletics, and unfortunately, that's really all we have to offer. Here at Huntington, here at the middle school. We got the band and choir and things like that, but I wish we could offer more. But as I go, resources financially, it's tough. It's tough to implement that stuff when you don't have the resources.
Yeah, having even if they don't create like your expectations videos and stuff, like having them in the room and having a student team, that's the secret sauce to getting it going, though. And that's the piece that I think a lot of folks could improve with. Now you mentioned that it's having representatives from they got to represent your whole student body. That's a big deal if you can get that done too. I had when we first started PBIS, we started it, and I was like the coach at the time, and we had a young man on the team, and he made a good point. He's like, these expectations affect me more than most because a lot of people, this is easy for. This is not easy for me, and like I was really his perspective on things was a big deal, and we were talking because the things we decided affected him a lot more than most kids, and that made a big deal. So if you can get those folks in there, that helps, and it's good for them. But I'll leave you with one question today, because I know you're running a school today, Nick. And we don't want to take up your whole day.
Man, honestly, I'll talk all day if you have time.
I want to zoom out for one question and like a big picture outside of just your school. What's the most pressing concern across the country in our schools today? What needs to be addressed?
Well, I think I heard this in the last podcast that was sent to me, and I kind of have to agree with it. The teacher shortage it's tough. It's tough. Now, knock on wood here. We were able to fill all of our at least here at the middle school. I was able to fill all my positions, but wow, the world of education is evolving, and it's evolving quickly. And when you go from having hundreds of applications for example, elementary positions to minimal applications, and then you have a ton of openings, that's a struggle. It's a huge struggle. We're as a principal now, you're developing schedules to have teachers with, their planning period, but another open period so they can go cover. We're trying to find subs and honestly, I can't say that I've seen a new sub that has committed to our district in quite some time that is consistently, showing up. So that's a struggle. And I don't know. I know state of Pennsylvania for years upon years upon years were known for pushing out teachers, education teachers, and we had good programs, Millersville, Shippensburg, just great. Junior College where I went, just great teacher programs. And it's sad. Like I don't know what's going to happen. I know I was reading something where our administration in Washington, D.C. are trying to look at different ways to help out. I just don't know what the answer is going to be. Actually, talking with my father this weekend, and one of his neighbors, which is a nephew of his and a cousin of mine, said that, hey, I went in and talked with the superintendent, and guess what I'm going to be doing now? Dad's like, well, what's your career? What are you going to be doing now? What's your career change? I'm going to be teaching. Well, didn't go to school for teaching, a business major. And, and this is what it's coming to, like, all the emergency certifications. But yeah, it's an evolving, it's evolving. And I don't know what it's going to be in, a couple years, what it's going to look like. And the other piece, honestly, the other piece to that too is higher education. And I know that's in the news right now a lot, but again, Nick Payne's opinion, I almost think sometimes the higher education is a crime with what they're charging people to go to school and further their education. Like, it's just sickening. 20 years later, I'm still paying all my loans and things like that. But the other piece of that, though, is, our schools, and we're moving to that here in Pennsylvania. We need to do a better job to prepare kids that you don't always need more education after high school. Like, there's other careers, that career readiness, exploration. I'm a true believer. Let's find your interest. Let's build your education around your interest, so you don't have to go to school, 2 years with a certain major, then you decide it's not what you want, and then that's just more money. Like, like I said, you don't even need to go to necessarily go to school. What about some of those, you know, training programs, technical programs? I know speaking of education, my older brother is a director of one of our vocational career schools here in the county. But between teacher shortage and the cost of higher education, there's some tough battles you're going to fight, and I'm sure it's been said before, but you have educators that are teaching our youth to become doctors, and the especially the salaries that teachers get paid, and I know it varies across the country, but you got doctors making six figures, and we don't got teachers making that, and we're the ones we're the ones that start that that interest, that pathway, and give them a good solid basis. Um, but I'm kind of going off on a tangent there. But teacher shortage, cost of higher education, and we got to make sure our kids are better prepared for when they step out of these doors for whatever career path they may be, whether it's the armed forces, whether it's jumping into the workforce, or heading to a secondary college.
So there's a few things there. Then like that's a pressing issue for everyone that's listening. The teacher shortage situation. Now you mentioned you were able to be fully staffed, and I think this is something that's going to kind of start happening. The places that have good cultures are going to be the folks that are fully staffed. Like if things are going well at your school, like you're going to attract teachers that other places can't, and that probably goes with subs too. I think will probably be the case. Subs can be kind of picky now.
Yeah, I think I know, and I just said this the other day talking to someone here in the community that we live in. I feel like we kind of are sitting on an island because we do not have. We're 40 minutes, 45 minutes away from our bigger populations. Our state colleges, our Altoonas, and it's real tough. Like, you want to talk about climate, culture, and I think one of the questions was about climate concerning school culture and things. Put it this way, I've been in the school district since 2002, 2023, or 2003, and here, let alone at our middle school here, um, there's been, I think I calculated 14 different administrators in and out of this building, between principals and assistant principals. And you want to take a hit on morale. I mean, right there, like, I don't know if it's me or not, but I'm going in. This is my fourth full year here. I'm on four assistant principals. Now, some of those principals got promoted. Assistant principals got promoted within the district, and super proud of them. But that turnover is just tough, and I feel that now that I'm here, that's been here for years, and have my boots in the mud and in the trenches with the teachers and things like that. I do feel a change, and hopefully we can keep those teachers here and say, hey, I want to go to Huntingdon. I mean, I want to I want to raise my family in Huntingdon, and I want to have a career in Huntingdon, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and kind of wrap up to say, as you've been talking through all that, Nick, I mean, I think a leader such as yourself with roots in the community, who stays at it, runs the marathon, not the sprint, it makes a really big difference. So hats off to you for that.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. I know we're probably going over time, but this has been awesome. I truly do enjoy talking with you, and I know I went off on multiple tangents and maybe probably didn't even hit half the questions, but no, this has been fun, and definitely a shout out to you guys at the Flywheel Effect and Live School. I definitely think it. I see a change. I like it. I like using Live School. To be honest with you, I just want to see what our next steps are with the rewards and getting that all taken care of. And then finally, we'll get the parent communication piece. We wanted to get our feet wet a little bit before we unrolled the parent stuff. But I appreciate it. This has been great. And listen, if you ever need someone else again or someone to fill in, I'll come in and answer any kind of questions or just talk, whatever we need to do.
I'll hold you to that. I'll hold you to that. All right. Well, Nick, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. And thank you very much for coming on. Before the very last thing, I want to make sure we get, if folks wanted to reach out to you on social media or anything like that, is there a way they could do that?
So that's where Mr. Payne needs to improve upon.
How about school, any school accounts or anything like that?
Email npayne, NPAYNE at huntsd.org, HUNTSD.org. Feel free to look Huntingdon Area Middle School up and contact me.
The flywheel effect, harnessing the power of momentum to create a school culture that celebrates change and drives itself.